Hey there, it's Gypsy, and you're listening to the Crush Chronicles podcast, a safe space to discuss crushes and how they affect our lives. So grab your coffee or wine, pull out your old diaries, and settle in for today's topic and discussion. I should have called Connor out for being a skis. I should have defended Aurora, but I let the feeling of betrayal from her take the lead. I was also just a girl that was raised in a misogynistic society. Let the guy get away with being a shit. Welcome to today's episode. Thanks for being here as we get ready to speak to today's guest. At the age of 19, she faced a significant health crisis. Despite countless visits to doctors with no clear answers, she turned to alternative healing for support. It was through a friend that she discovered the Cone Health Institute, where she was introduced to a whole new world of holistic healing. The transformative experience sparked her passion to understand how the body heals itself and led her to pursue formal education in the field. She began her studies at Golden West College, followed by advanced training at the National Holistic Institute, where she deepened her understanding of therapeutic techniques. Since then, she has continued her education through continuing education programs, ensuring that she stays up to date with the latest modalities and treatments to offer the highest level of care to her clients. Her journey has been one of continuous learning and personal growth, and it's this dedication to both her craft and her clients' well-being that drives her to constantly refine her skills. At Duo Dragons, she is committed to providing exceptional service, helping each client heal holistically and achieve lasting wellness. Please welcome Rebecca Arce to the show. Welcome, Rebecca. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for the invite.
Yes, of course. Before we start, we'll start with an Icecrusher, and then I want to go back and ask you a little bit about Duo Dragons. Who is a current celebrity or fictional crush you have, or one that you had in your childhood?
Mine has always been the actor from Indiana Jones, Harrison Ford.
Oh, yes. So was Indiana Jones, was that where you first saw him?
And also Star Wars.
And Star Wars, yeah. Han Solo, yeah, he is a little stud muffin in Star Wars. I feel like Star Wars did it a lot for people, but believe it or not, I cannot remember the last time I've seen Indiana Jones. I must have been like really little, because I remember almost nothing about that movie. But I really like the ride at Disneyland. It's one of my favorite rides.
Yes.
Do you still follow him, like any of like his movies and stuff?
Yeah. Even the TV series that he's been, I can't remember the name of it, but I was watching a little bit of it just to see the series, but it didn't catch my attention, the storyline.
Yeah. Was it Shrinking on Apple TV?
On Hulu, it was like a Western movie, like he's in a ranch. I can't even remember the name of it.
Okay, so I usually share one of mine. So today I'm going to share Jon Stewart from The Daily Show, which I am very, very late. Do you know what The Daily Show is?
No.
Okay, so it's a long-running program. I am very, very late to the party. I probably didn't really discover The Daily Show until there was a different host. His name is Trevor Noah, and he's a lot younger than Jon Stewart, but it's a comedy news show that is on Comedy Central. And Jon Stewart was the host for a long time, and then he left, and then now he's kind of back. So I really haven't watched him on it until very recently, like this year. He only does it once a week, but he's a silver fox. He's so smart. He's very passionate, and just really has good moral ground. Like he just wants to do the right thing and everything. So that's mine.
I'm curious. I'm Googling him right now.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, Jon Stewart is.
Yeah. Well, I recommend The Daily Show because that's the only way I can get my news right now is because I need it with a laugh. Because they cover the headlines, but they just make giant jokes out of it like the entire time. And then they do more serious interviews afterwards. But I like the funny news clips at the beginning. Okay, so before we get into the Chronicle questions, what can you tell us about Duo Dragons?
So Duo Dragons is interesting. It's neuromuscular therapy, which is a form of medical massage. And it's been evolving. And so evolving meaning it's been going into a spiritual path because during COVID, we had a shutdown. And so clients, I couldn't touch clients. So what we did was we were starting to do like meditations through Zoom, talking, pain management tips and tools with our clients. And so it started evolving. And so when we got back to be able to, work on our clients, we kept with the meditations. So we added the garden meditation, and we also added generational release trauma meditation. My husband and I, we work together. So it's a four-handed, customized session for our clients. And what we were noticing is that what used to take us 3, 4, 6, depending on the condition of the client, to be able to release a lot of their pain with the new techniques of the meditation, not only addressing the physical pain, but also now addressing emotional, mental, and spiritual, addressing how that was linked to the pain. Our clients were getting results within the first, second visit. So
Wow, that fast.
it was that fast.
I wasn't expecting you to say that. I was expecting you to say maybe like a few days or like a week or something.
Yeah, within the first or second session, they're already feeling results. They're walking. Like I've had just recently, we worked on a man that has had surgery 3 months ago, and his healing has been taking a very long time where he's still on a walker. We just did his second session last week, and he walked without the walker for the first time. And he was so excited. Like you could just see the joy, like, oh my God, finally I'm able to walk on my own. And just seeing that,
Yeah.
that's what gives me a lot of pleasure, knowing that I'm able to help people that way.
That's so great. When you discovered okay, so like during COVID, we're doing, the non-touch, you're doing more the meditations and stuff. Was that something that you discovered yourself, that you and your husband discovered, or was it something that you had learned like as a holistic community that has learned and you put it together?
I had learned that one by myself. So, one thing about me, I'm very spiritual. I do a lot of meditations, prayers. Ever since I was a child, I've always been sensitive. And I didn't know the word was empath until much later. And so I just feel things. I just feel things without really knowing. And so when I was doing the Zoom with clients, I would start feeling things. And I remember with a particular client, we were talking about figuring out that the pain was linked to an emotion. It was a fall. And so she was feeling a lot of like, when we do this self criticism, like, oh, it was dumb of me to fall. It was like a little step and I fell and I can't believe I didn't see it in my own house. And so she was self-criticizing, and I just happened to say, like, how long have you been doing that and where did you learn that from? And so just asking questions, she started unraveling this story, and I said, okay, let's just I started remembering when I used to work at Disneyland, the magic of Disneyland, how to keep that magic alive for people to, like, every time you walk in Disneyland, it's like, wow, Disneyland. And so I was explaining to her how every day they would check to see if the paint was chipping, if plants are dying. And every night they would fully clean, repaint, replant. They had their own botanical garden in the back. And so that's why you never see a dying plant. That's why you never see paint fading in Disneyland. That's why you never see the streets dirty. After a while, streets start getting that ugly junk look on the concrete. They do power wash. And so I explained to her, I'm like, I feel like we need to do something like that to help us during this time of COVID, because since we can't get that physical touch relief, let's figure out a way how to garden. And it just came like, let's see how to garden our body, like how to really make it more to work for us. So I just started doing this meditation, and then it's evolved with time. Like we've been able to really hone it down to really use these certain words and certain guidance to help our clients visualize themselves removing the plants or whatever's in their garden that no longer serves them, and re-landscaping, putting in what's going to serve them. And it's amazing how the clients, the minute they do that, and while we're working on them, all of a sudden their muscles start relaxing, the knots start disappearing, all of a sudden they have better range of motion. So we knew we were onto something, and I just kept going with it. I'm like, okay. And I remember I had asked my guides, help me figure out a way to service our clients without being able to touch them, like they're in pain. How can I help them? And they just came. And so I've always trusted my guides, guardians, whatever we call them, my higher source, my divine self, to just help me be able to better service clients. So that's how that came about.
That's awesome. Because I think too, this could be my own personal perception of, the world, but I feel like it's only been recently, like within the past like decade or so, that we as a whole, whether it's holistic health or Western medicine, whatever it is, that we're figuring out that our mental health is connected to our physical health, whereas before it just really seemed like two separate things. Like, especially because, going to therapy before, like, I don't know, 50 years ago was like very taboo. Like, you wouldn't tell people you're in therapy so it was just so separated. But I feel like it's just been recently that, people are discovering like, no, they're interconnected and you have to treat both. And that's, a silver lining to your COVID experience, that you were able to come to this beautiful way to help treat your patients when, we couldn't see each other for over a year or whatever it was. You couldn't, you couldn't treat your clients that way. So thank you for sharing that. That's so great. And then at the end, we'll share, where everybody can find you if they're interested in your services, which I don't see why they would not be. But thank you for sharing. Okay, so we're going to get into the Chronicles. So before you joined today, you read the 8th chapter of Connor's story in the Crush Chronicles, which is titled The Cut. So we're going to have a discussion inspired by that excerpt. And quick reminder to listeners, the questions I ask are inspired by the piece from the Crush Chronicles, but you do not have to have read any of it to enjoy the discussion. Okay, for people who have listened to the entire season, it's been beaten to death on the show, but teen Rachel was involved in numerous extracurricular activities in high school, including theater, choir, journalism, and attending music shows. She also wrote in her journal and talked with friends on the phone. What did teenage Rebecca's teenage or high school years look like?
High school was tough. I was very shy, very quiet. Like I said, I was very sensitive. So I think I was picking up a lot on insecurities from others, picking up a lot about shame. And so I always kept to myself. I was very quiet. And it's kind of interesting because when I go to my high school reunions, it's very hard for me to remember all of these people because I kind of like would close off. But they all have these wonderful memories of me, and I feel so bad sometimes because I can't remember.
Oh, nice. So how have you gone to more than one high school reunion? Because I noticed you made it plural.
Yes, I've gone to all of them, my 10th, my 20th, and my 30th.
Wow, okay. That's impressive that your high school class has kept all of that up. I'm not even sure if my high school class did a 20th. I mean, I kind of went off the radar, so maybe I just didn't get the invitation. I went to my 10th. But yeah, that's really impressive. There's very few, I think, that get to the 30th, so that's awesome.
Interesting. No, our high school is really good with the alumni group. I guess it's just we're so proud of our school that we all keep in touch and we all help in the school. My daughter's starting 9th grade. And so even the principal spoke about that at the parent orientation, how there's this wonderful alumni association and we help fundraise and we help build money for the teams or for scholarships. So we're very much involved. And so that's why
That's
we
great.
really, pretty much gather a lot, not only for reunions, but like special events. We do car shows at the school to raise funds for the teams and for the school. And like I said, we're always all very much involved.
That's awesome. That's such a great story about a sense of community. Like, that's so wonderful, especially around school, because all of our schools in America need help. So that's wonderful. That sounds like a thriving community. I'm happy to hear that. So okay, so you said that mostly in high school you were sensitive because you didn't realize you were empathic and you were kind of like feeding off of everybody's energy. Did that like prevent you from doing any extra activities? Were you mostly like quiet and shy? Did you just stick to schoolwork and that was it?
I did do track because I did enjoy running a lot. I think that would give me a sense of freedom to be able to actually be within my own mind and not so much like being bombarded by other people's energy. I guess just the feeling of just running and just feeling the breeze where I was able to just kind of be within myself. And so I was a really good runner.
Awesome. Did you do any competitions or was it just like something to do
Yeah.
after school? Yeah.
Yes.
Awesome.
In competitions, I would run, and my best time in the mile was 6 flat, 6 minutes flat.
Wow. I never approached 6 minutes ever. I did not like running. I was the kid that was getting yelled at because I was walking the last lap of the mile. But, I didn't have it in me. So that's wonderful. And I also love how you kind of made like a good example of like the mind and the body being connected because you said it was freeing to be in your own mind. Obviously you weren't it's not a contact sport, so you weren't feeding off of other people. But yeah, it's just another example because you're not the only one. We hear a lot how people who enjoy running, it helps clear their mind, which also helps like lower stress. So yeah, there's definitely that mental physical link there.
Yes.
So yeah, anything else you want to share about teenage Rebecca in high school before we move on?
No, just about that. Like I said, I would pretty much keep to myself, do my studies, was in track. I did have, not at school, but my parents had me in private piano lessons since age 7. So that was the extracurricular activity that I would do on the side. And so I was trained to learn how to play classics like Beethoven, Mozart. And I did that for a while after my near death experience to be able to work and earn some income. I was teaching piano in my home while I was recovering.
So tell us a little bit about that. Was that experience very recent?
No, I was at 19, right after high school.
Oh, wow. Okay. Do you feel comfortable sharing about it?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. So, just the preface, as a child, I always had stomach issues. And so I would always be constantly in the hospital with stomach infections, severe gastritis. My parents, both Hispanic, we eat a lot pork and beef and big meals, heavy meals. And they didn't realize at that time that my body wasn't digesting food properly. And I had food allergies, which I never showed because it was the reason why I couldn't go to the bathroom often. I was severely constipated all the time. So that snowballed. By the time I was 19, I ended up with a very severe infection. And so I had severe fevers for a week in the hospital. I don't have any memory of that week in the hospital. My mom has told me that I would push people away. I would start screaming. I would like curse my dad out, which is something I would never do. So I was pretty much gone for that week. And so when the doctor said there's nothing else we can do you want to keep her here or would you like to take her home and say your goodbyes? And they were like, well, we're just going to take her home. And so that's where I had my near death experience at home. And so I just remember they put me in bed because I remember coming back and just seeing a lot of family members come over, and I couldn't understand why they were coming over. They were just like staring at me, like shaking their head like this, didn't hear anything. And I just remember feeling very confused, like what was going on. And then that's when it just went dark. And then that's when I started seeing like I was somewhere else. And I remember just like walking up a hillside and just seeing people kind of like, I saw people on the side, but not near me, like in a distance, kind of like just telling me, like, yeah, come. I was like, again, so confused, like, where am I? Who are these people? Why are they telling me to go up this hill? And as I was getting closer, I could see like a cabin, like, and there was this one person, individual that walked out. And this individual just had these beautiful, Native American, these beautiful feathers that just would overlap like this. And I just remember thinking, like, okay, where am I? Because I'm now seeing Native American person here. And I remember getting really close to him, and his eyes were very piercing, very intense. And at this point, I was like, where am I really? Like, all of a sudden, I had this feeling overcome me, like, I'm somewhere else. And I remember in my mind saying, like, where am I? Like, who are you? And we were talking, but we weren't moving our mouths. It was just we were talking in our minds. And he just said, you're okay. And I was all like, but who are you? And I kept looking at him and like, I've seen you somewhere. Where do I know you from? And I remember I said, can you help me? And he just extended his hands out like to embrace me. And I remember on his hands he had a scar. And I'm like, I've seen that before. Where have I seen that? Then he just embraced me. And I just remember going through this light and just feeling so good, like beyond good. I wasn't just in this state of like, I just wanted to stay there. I didn't want to leave. I just wanted to be there. And I just remember feeling relief. I remember feeling comfort, love, everything. And then I woke up in bed and it's dark and I'm stiff because obviously I had passed away. So I had no function of my body. All I could move was my eyes. And I'm kind of now I'm freaking out because I'm thinking, okay, it started dawning on me like I was definitely somewhere else. And now my body's not working for me. And I just remember slowly wiggling my way off the edge of the bed, falling to the ground, and wiggling myself like a worm on the ground, making my way out of my room to my parents' room. And I remember using my head to kind of knock on their door for help.
Goodness.
And I just remember my mom screaming my dad's name, Mario. I didn't even feel them. I just remember my body all of a sudden being on their bed. And I remember seeing them doing something like this to me. And it didn't dawn on me until I started feeling them. They were trying to bring warmth back to my body. They were made me into a sandwich. So I was in between them and they were rubbing profusely my body. And I remember at that moment is when I turned to my mom and I said, Mom, I saw Jesus. It all of a suddenly things started adding up like, Mom, I saw Jesus. And my mom was like, okay, just stay quiet. Like, don't talk about it.
She's
Like,
already having like a million and one things going through her mind.
he was freaking out and I'm here like ecstatic that I saw Jesus, but he was wearing a Native American suit.
What a positive attitude you had coming out from this near death experience.
I well, it was a wonderful experience, and like I tell
Yeah.
people, until you experience it, it's hard to explain. But everyone that has ever shared near death experience, they all say the same thing. Like, I didn't want to come back. I didn't want to come back because it was just it's such a wonderful feeling being there. And I remember thinking that, like, why did I come back? Like, I didn't want to come back. I was like, I'd rather stay there. It was cool.
Well, you obviously had things to do because you're obviously helping a lot of people
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
So, what was it a long recovery after, that day after you were able to?
Yeah. Yeah, so first I had a miracle. So after that day, I remember that day just being in a lot of pain, but I was talking and moving and I was able to like sit down. The fever was gone. So for my family, they were all shocked because they were like, oh my God, like, how is she functioning? But I didn't tell anyone anything that day that I was in a lot of pain. And I remember thinking in my head, like, I just don't want to be a burden for them. And night came again. And when that night, I remember praying and just being like, oh God, like, I want to go back. I don't think I'm going to do well here. Can you just take me back? And I was like pretty much saying like I wanted to die again. And I remember after a moment just thinking about what I had just said, I'm like, wait a minute, but what if I don't go back? I don't want to be like this either. And so then I said, okay, in case I don't die tonight, can you just like do me a favor and just take this pain away? I can't handle it no more. Because it felt like, I don't know, in the movies Alien, when they take out your guts, like it was just this,
Man.
oh, my gut, my stomach. I was just in so much pain. And it just felt like someone had ripped my insides out. And so I remember saying, oh my God, just please take away the pain. Please, please, please. Went to bed and it was just dark. Then I woke up and I'm like, okay, I didn't die. And so I was like, great. Okay. I go, I guess I have to get up. And I remember getting up and thinking, oh, that didn't hurt. And then I remember sitting up straighter because I couldn't even do that. I was like hunched over because of the pain. I was like, I looked like an old lady, I remember, because I was always hunched over. And I remember sitting up and thinking, like, oh, I could actually sit up without pain. And then I slowly got up and I started kind of like moving. And I was like, I'm not, I'm not hurting. And I remember even hopping then because I'm like, wait, this is too good to be true. Then I remember hopping But I did notice that my right side was very weak. I was able to hop on my left, but my right was weak. So I had lost function of my right side. So my hand, like when I went to try to grab the door, I was having a hard time even figuring out how to grasp. And then my right foot, I would like trip over it because it wouldn't pick up. Like my foot wouldn't go. It would just like drag. And so then I thought like, okay. But I was like, okay, at least I'm not in pain. But that was the first miracle. And then yes, from 19 to 25, I was just really sick all the time. It affected my immune system. And then that's, like I said, most of my friends were going to college, and I was trying to figure out what my life was going to be, going to doctor's appointments, taking medications, x-rays, MRIs, you name it. And it was like, I just wanted to know why I was so sick, what was wrong with me. And then that's when my friend that was going at UC Irvine at the time, Dr. Howard Cohn, went to do a talk about alternative health. And so he gave out business cards, and she grabbed one for me and she said, I think I know who you need to see now. Because I was complaining to her, like, no one's doing anything for me. Like the doctors keep telling me, oh, just take this, but I would take it and I would still be sick. So I'm like, they're not listening. My test results were showing that I had high cholesterol, but I was thin as a toothpick, pale, because I wasn't getting much nutrition in me. And when I was hearing, oh, you have to like watch your diet for your high cholesterol, I'm just looking at them like, I barely eat. Like I could barely function. Like, how can my cholesterol be so high when I barely have anything in my stomach? And so it was just, there was just so many questions. And I just couldn't understand like how no doctor can give me an answer of what was wrong.
So how are you doing now?
Oh, well, that was a big shift. So that was the second miracle. When I went to see Dr. Howard Cohn, he addressed the issue. And it was so interesting because, like I said, I had never known about massage before that. Acupuncture, like what's that? I'm 25 at this point. I had no idea there was this other, you know, care, alternative care at all. And so when I went to his office, I was just kind of like, this is weird. No blood work, no x-rays. He just did an intake. And then he starts doing this muscle testing, and he's touching, and he's always said, okay, if I touched here and here, he's doing muscle testing, and he's okay. Now I know what's wrong. And I'm looking at him like, okay, what is this weirdo doing? And what is he going to tell me? And so then he goes, you've always been constipated. And I'm like, how do you know that? I didn't tell him anything. He had no previous information other than what I wrote in the intake, that I've been sick for a long time and I just want to be healthy now. And so he goes, you've always been constipated. And I could tell, like, even when you do go number 2, it hurts, right? And I go, yes, how do you know that? And so now I'm being mind blown at this time. Like, how is this guy getting all this information? And he goes, I could tell because I need to adjust your pelvis to open it to help it, because it's been like sliding against your pelvic bone as you release. And that's why it feels like knives coming out of you. And I'm like, now I'm really blown away, because not only is he describing what I feel, he's actually telling me exactly what I've been dealing with. And so now I'm like, okay, now you got me interested. Like, how do you know this? So he starts explaining to me. He goes, you want the good news or the bad news? And I'm like, well, I'm used to the bad news, so just give me the bad news. He goes, you're really sick. He goes, I'm glad you came today because you would probably be having unnecessary surgery coming up soon. And I'm like, yeah, the doctors have been really like on me about if I don't improve my health, things are going to be worse for me. He goes, that's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. That's the good news. And I'm thinking in my head, like, okay, you just told me I'm really sick. So how is the good news coming here? And he goes, this is all fixable. And I'm looking at him like, okay, if the doctors haven't been able to figure this out, how are you going to fix it? And he goes, it's fixable because I want you to realize what's been going on. So all your life, think of your body as a refrigerator. So you've been putting food in, but it hasn't been coming out. So when you don't clean a refrigerator, what grows in there? And I was like, oh. He goes, yeah. You have every bacteria, virus, fungus, parasite, you name it, you have it. That's why the doctors haven't been able to figure out what's wrong with you, because you have all this going on at the same time. So they're not going to figure it out. He goes, but the good news is with a detox, we'll be able to get you healthy. So I'm looking at him like, wait, what? What's a detox? So he goes, hold on. He walks out and he comes back with all these supplement bottles. And there's like tons of them on his table. And he's checking, he's muscle testing. Oh, yeah, this one's a good one. He would put the good ones on the table. And the bad ones that weren't working for me, oh, no, that too weak. No. He would put them aside. And then he ended up with around 7 of these supplements. And I remember one was fungal detox, parasite detox, bacteria, virus, probiotics, also for my liver detox, and also for my gallbladder. So those were all the ones he gave me. And he had me take them all. And as I would take them, he would muscle test to see how my body was responding to each supplement. And my arms started getting stronger and stronger and stronger. I remember asking him, like, how is it that that's working? Like, I don't understand this hand motion. And he goes, well, this is called muscle testing. So when it tests strong, that means you're responding well. That's your yes. When it goes weak, that's like a no. And it is also that your body's not responding to it. And so that's how I knew which organs were being affected, because when I would touch where that organ is, it would go weak. So that's how I knew we were going to have a lot of unnecessary surgery soon. They were probably going to remove your gallbladder because it's practically not functioning. They were also going to probably do something to your liver because it's running on low. Like right now, most of your organs are so stressed out and not functioning well that eventually that's what's going to happen. They were going to start shutting down. And I was like, okay. So then he has me take all these supplements. He goes, you're good. I'll see you in a week. Make sure to go straight home. And I'm like, why? He goes, well, how far do you live? And I'm like, 30 minutes. He goes, yeah, make sure to go home. You'll know why when you get home. I barely made it home. I was like, parked the car, ran into my house, ran straight to the bathroom, and I sat there and everything was coming out.
So was that because did you take the supplements in his office, or was it just from him?
No, I took them in the office, and then I
Okay.
took them home. But because every time he would tell me take it, and then he would muscle test to see how my body
Okay.
would react to it. And so I had taken all these supplements as the initial startup, and then that's when I started seeing the results. I remember sitting there, and my first thought was like, "Wow, I'm not in pain, and it doesn't feel like knives coming out of me." Like, wow, whatever he did adjusted my pelvis, because I remember he adjusted me and you just heard this deep boom. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa. And he goes, you're going to feel so much better. And he was not kidding. I remember just sitting there for half an hour and thinking, like, this is the best shit of my life. I have never shitted like this in my life. And it was like every day. And I was like, what the hell is coming? Remember, I'm this skinny. What the hell is coming out of me? Everything came out. And I went back that week and he goes, so how do you feel? And I'm like, I don't know what you did, but I had the best shits of my life because everything. And he just started laughing because I'm like, I don't know how you did it, but it feels so good. Like it doesn't hurt. I don't have knives coming out of me anymore. And that was the second miracle. And then from there, he was just like, oh, I noticed your function of the right side is weak. You should do aquarobics, you should do massage. Also, let's include some acupuncture. And I'm like, okay, what are all those things? Explain, please. And so he started really opening up this whole new world to me. And I just remember asking, how is it possible that this is healing me and the doctors have not been able to figure this out? So I was so curious, like, how does this work? Like, how is it that massage is helping my muscles and I'm regaining strength and I'm able to finally hold a cup without it dropping? And how is it that, I'm able to exercise and aquarobics and not feel so tired, And then the acupuncture, oh my goodness, that's when I realized I was an empath. And they explained it to me because the Asian lady, she's all like, you have very strong chi. And I'm like, what is chi? And she goes, that's your energy source. You have very strong chi. And I was all like, wondering, like, well, what does that mean? Like, and she goes, you're very sensitive. You feel things. And I'm like, okay, now you got my interest again. Like, how do you know I feel things? And so she explained to me that I have this very strong energy source within me, but it just needed to reconnect. I was just a little disconnected, like almost connecting the phone lines back in the day. She goes, we just really need to reconnect everything. So now everything's going to start talking and you should start feeling better. So I was like, okay. And keep in mind, I was always scared of needles as a kid. So
Yeah.
for me, letting myself get this done, I was amazed I was able to tolerate it, but I would feel things like every needle she would do, it wasn't bad. It was just a little boop. Everyone that she would put in, like here or here, I would just feel like this electricity or flutters, and I would be like, wow, that feels amazing. And she would say, and even the Dr. Howard Cohn and his associate Dr. McCoy, they would all say that nobody feels the way I do. Like they would do things, they would do certain like tapping or certain things to help me reconnect, and I would start feeling like this heat source, or I would feel like almost like electricity in my body. And I would be like, oh, what is that? Why do I feel that? And they're like, you could feel all that? I'm like, yeah, doesn't everybody? They're like, no, you're the
Wow.
only one. And so that's when they told me, you're a very sensitive person. You're very connected to your body. So they were the ones that started telling me, you should get into this line of work, maybe massage school. Do try something because you're very well tuned into your body and you know how things should feel. So you'll be really good to be able to help other people reconnect because you know how it feels now. So that's how I got into massage.
So you're doing like, are you at like 100% now, just like going with the maintenance? Like, I'm assuming you still get acupuncture and you still do a lot
Yes.
of the modalities.
Yeah, by the time I was 30, I was pretty good. I did go through a divorce from my first husband, and that divorce brought some stress, which created a benign tumor in my pituitary gland. But that was,
Oh, wow.
and it was so funny because when I saw Dr. McCoy about it, I said, something's wrong. I didn't have children, but I was lactating from my breast. And I'm like, why am I lactating? And so she explained to me, she goes, it's going to take your doctors about 6 months to figure this out. So let's treat it holistically. I'm going to give you some supplements to work with this. And when you see your doctor and they finally figure it out that it's a benign tumor in your pituitary gland, they're going to give you a medication. We're going to address it both with Western and Eastern medicine, is what she said. So what we do here is called Western medicine, and what they practice is Eastern medicine. So I was able to really address that issue and, just feel better. And during that time, the doctors had told me I couldn't have children for that reason of that tumor because it messes with your hormones. And so for the longest time, I thought I would never have a child. And fortunately, with their help and with my doctor's help, they were able to get me pretty much good. I got the good news in 2009 is when I got the good news that everything was good and I was going to be able to try. And so that's when I tried, and then I ended up getting pregnant and had my third miracle, which is my daughter.
Thank you so much for sharing your story. So did it take the doctor 6 months to figure it out? Okay, that really, of all the amazing things that you've told me, that kind of like tickles me a little bit, just the fact that she knew it was going to take, because that's a long time.
It
And
is.
I mean, it's probably in the Western medicine world to find a tumor, that's probably pretty quick. But just the fact that she knew, or you both knew already,
Mm-hmm.
and she did a workaround until they were able to figure it out. That kind of blows my mind a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised, but it kind of blows my mind a little bit. So yeah, that's amazing. How wonderful that your friend picked up that business card and sent you over that
Yeah.
way. That was really, really great. Well, so thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so let's get back to the Chronicles.
Yes.
Okay, so after reading this excerpt, the cut, what parts of the story stuck out or resonated with you, and why?
The part where she was able to finally release him. because he still had very much a hold on her. Like she was always hopeful that there was still that interest in her. But then there came time where it was like, okay, I need to let this go. And that's very important with the work I do. Having that awareness that some things are just meant to be a moment and you're supposed to learn something from it, and to be able to release it and move on is ascending to a much higher growth within yourself and learning more about yourself.
Wow, that was very beautifully said. I love how you said that some things are just meant to be a moment, because we like, especially when we really enjoy stuff, we really don't want things to end, or we try to get it back, or whatever it is. I mean, how many like rom-coms are there about the man or the woman, whichever, trying to make something last that's been over. So yeah, that was very well said. And it does make sense that would be the part that resonates with you, because yeah, the releasing of it, and for a long time I think that she thought that it was not healthy, because it's really hard to cut people off whether they're good for you or not. It's really difficult. So I think she thought that it was unhealthy, but through time I think she did learn that it is healthy.
It reminded me about what my daughter is going through. So like I said, my daughter started in ninth grade, and in eighth grade, she was dating a crush. She wanted to date. I remember she told me, Mom, can I start dating? And I'm like, you're too young. Like, I want you to really enjoy your childhood. And she goes, but Mom, I really like this boy and I really want to get to know him. And I remember telling her, I'm a different kind of mom. I'm not going to say no, because I know if I say no, you're just going to keep rolling with this until you get your way. Because I've been there, done that. It was your age one time. And so I said, okay, I'm going to give you this opportunity, but I'm going to be present. Wherever you go, I'm going to be there. You're never going to be alone because you are too young. And she was okay with that. And so this boy, he was really nice. I really liked him too. And as time went on, I remember telling her, because there was a summer love and then they entered eighth grade. And I told her, once you go to school, things may get complicated because friends start getting involved, opinions start getting inserted, judgments start coming up. I go, this is part of a relationship that you're going to learn, not the nice way, because things can go up and down. But I'm going to give you an opportunity to experience it. And I told her, always trust your gut instinct. If something doesn't feel right, and I've always taught her that, if something doesn't feel right, always trust your gut instinct. Your body knows you better than anybody in this world. And so I've always taught her to trust her body. And I remember when things started going not too good, she was noticing like he didn't want her to talk to his friends, and he was talking to a girl. And so her gut instinct was telling her that he had lost interest in her and was looking at another girl. And she trusted her gut. And I was so proud of her when she finally, in November, December, she had told him, like, I think it's time for us to break this off. It's obvious that you are not in this relationship anymore, and I don't like feeling this way. And I was so proud of her for doing that. And she said, the power of AI. So she went in and Googled, how can I write a breakup letter, a breakup paragraph? So she generated through AI a paragraph to send to him on how to break up with him. And I guess he showed it to his mom, and his mom, like when she read it, it made her cry.
Oh, wow.
I told her, well, what did it say? She goes, I don't know. It was just a breakup paragraph, Mom.
Wow. I wonder what it said.
And she goes, yeah, I don't know why she was crying, but
well, I mean, that's how your daughter handled that, and obviously it was with very good guidance from you. It is very mature. There's some of us grown adults that could not have handled that very well, and it's probably because a lot of us have learned to not trust our gut, right? Like a lot of us, I think it kind of gets taught out of us, and that's actually something that I've personally been working on. I feel like I have a very poor relationship with listening to my gut and my intuition, and it's something that I've been working on for a while. So I love that you've instilled that in her. But yeah, she handled that so well. I'm proud of her too. She's not even my kid. Like that, she did that very well, and for being so young. The AI paragraph though is funny. That's I feel like that's a peek into the future of these generations to come. of how these things are gonna happen. But okay, yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay, so in this excerpt, teenage Rachel discovers that one of her close friends was secretly hiding feelings for teen Rachel's ex. What encounters similar to this have you experienced, and how have you handled them?
When I was dating my first husband, I remember there was this girl at a party, and she was just, and guys are so oblivious.
They can be, yeah.
I know, it was just like he was sitting with me and he's just like, he was a social butterfly. So she's talking to him and he's talking to her. And the more he would like engage, she was more like, you could see the body language, like her excitement, like, oh, he's really into me. And I'm like sitting there like, hello, I'm here. But I
Was she
remember
aware that you guys were together, or was she unaware of that fact?
she was aware, and the fact that she kept going and going, I was like, okay, now she's being
Yeah.
rude. And then
Yeah.
I looked at at that time, he was my boyfriend, and I looked at him and I'm like, do you not notice she's flirting with you? And he's all like, no, she's just really nice. And I'm like, she's flirting with you. And you're like, so like, not, you're not getting it. It was like going over his head.
So how did you handle it? Was that the extent of it? Was like you just let him know and then it kind of like shut down?
Yeah, I've never been a person to display that. I just stayed quiet. I observed and I watched. And then once the conversation ended and we had time alone, that's when I spoke to him about it. And so we had this conversation. I'm all like, it made me feel very uncomfortable after a while because she was totally flirting with you in front of me and not even respecting the fact that we're a couple. And so I told him that I didn't like that, the lack of respect. And I told him, I totally get it. You didn't see it. I could see that you were like so innocent. You were not getting it. And that's why I didn't react to it because it just went over your head. Again, I'm sensitive. So I was totally picking up on her energy and her radar, where it just felt really uncomfortable for me because I'm literally sitting there and she's doing this and I could feel her body heat. And I was just like, it was
Wow.
just really uncomfortable. I was really uncomfortable, but I kept it. That says a lot about me where I keep things and I just kind of like wait for the right moment to speak about things. And I've always been like that, even with my daughter. Like I'll just observe and then I'll sit with her, like, I want to talk to you about something. I've been observing this and I'm noticing these things. I think we need to talk about it. And I'm so thankful that my daughter's so open and she's all like, yeah, mom, I've been feeling this, but I didn't want to bother you with it. And I said, hey, you never will bother me. Like, whatever you need to talk about it with me. I rather you have my advice than some person that's just going to give you advice that's going to lead you nowhere. And so that's just a little bit about me.
I think that's great because it's really hard because you could have reacted the opposite way, right? You could have gotten really territorial, and there's nothing wrong with people who do react that way. That's how their person is. But I do think that when you do react in a more angry way, it sets you up more to, because when you get angry, the words and the thoughts just kind of fly out before you really have a chance to sit with them. So I think it exemplifies your patience because, like you said, you had to wait and any anger that you may have felt kind of subsided so you could think clearly and talk clearly.
Yeah.
I think that's great. I'm the same way with my daughter. She's very anxious and sensitive. She worries about being a burden because she knows when she starts talking about something, she'll just keep talking. And for some reason, I don't know if your daughter's like this, but it's always right before bedtime that these things need to flow out. So I'll be really tired and trying to manage these things. And she knows that. But I was like, no, don't ever like apologize for talking to me about something. Like, that's why I'm here. I'm also very grateful that I have two girls and they both seem to be very comfortable talking to me about things. I hope that continues as they get older because my eldest is approaching teenage years and, anything can go in the teenage years. We don't know how those will be handled. But yeah, it's very good to keep that trust and that communication open with your kids. You want them to feel safe coming to you.
And that's what I've always told my daughter. Like, if you make a mistake, what does that mean? It doesn't mean anything bad. It's just an opportunity for you to learn and grow from it. So she knows that I'm not a person to be like, oh, you should, you made a mistake, because I grew up that way. I think the one thing I wanted to install in my daughter is to not be so judgmental, because judgment, when there's so much judgment in any relationship, the trust is broken. And so I always made sure not to judge her, even if I thought it was something like, okay, well, I don't know what she's talking about, I don't like this conversation, but I would make sure to put my judgment aside and just really listen to her, and then have that opportunity to just kind of be like, okay, from what I'm hearing is you're feeling this way, but why? Like, why? Where did that come from? So I would just start asking a lot of questions for her to become aware of where it was coming from. But it's hard as a parent, because you want to just tell them how it is, like, oh, you should do this, this, and this, and that, and forget about this, and don't do that again. But that's not going to help them grow evolve. So I always remind myself to always ask questions to help me understand her better and to be able to guide her better.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that that's very hard withholding judgment, because one, I feel like judgment is just something that's just so unchecked in our society. Like, we don't even realize that we're doing it because it's just like a big part of our culture. But to do it as a parent, because you are the older and the wiser one, you are supposed to be the one guiding them and teaching them. But like you said, you can't just be like, okay, I'm laying it all out for you. This is how it's going to go. And this is how you approach life. You can't do that, because it doesn't help them. They have to learn themselves, and that's a very big challenge. So I applaud you with your withholding of judgment, because that's hard. It's really hard, and it's hard as a parent when all you want is to really just help them succeed. It's hard as they get older to kind of let them go and, be their little duckling swimming away.
Yeah, I know. It's like she's entering high school, so I'm already dreading the fact that 4 years is gonna fly like this, and
I know it is.
graduating.
High school is no joke. Okay, so the Crush Chronicles is heavily a story of heartache, and I hope that it helps people to reflect on their past relationships and helps them consider how they've changed and how crushes aren't as trivial as we may brush them off to be, but that we can learn a lot about ourselves, past and present. With your knowledge of the human body that you have, in your opinion, how do things like heartache and past relationships affect our physical selves?
So definitely how you address it. For example, if you hold on to hope or hold on like, oh, he's going to love me again, that could turn very toxic, because then you start building resentment when things don't go that way. And so what I always explain to clients, that when that line gets crossed where you're holding resentment, anger because things are not happening the way you wish them to with anybody, it's like drinking poison. It really affects your body, because you're not letting your body grow and evolve from it. Like I said, certain things are meant to be for a moment. They're little moments in our life to help us grow and ascend and learn more about ourselves. So when people get stuck on a particular person, like a crush, a heartache, like, I know he's the one and he's supposed to be the one. No, you got to let that go. It's not serving you in any way, shape, or form. And the contrary, it's keeping you down to an energy level that is what I call a low energy frequency, which is you're not able to evolve and come to a higher frequency where you start developing more emotional intelligence. And so if you stay down here, you're never going to be able to gain that intelligence on how to deal with these emotions, how to grow from them, how to evolve. So later on, what happens when you stay down here, any future relationships, they're still in this low frequency. I've had clients say, I don't get it. I never could find my love. Like, I've dated and I can't find anyone. And it's because they're still there. They're still stuck in that heartache, like the one that got away. And they're trying to date to find that one again. So they're just like looping back, looping back. So it becomes a broken record of your body experiencing this over and over again. So then, yes, it starts affecting your body. It starts affecting your emotions, your mind, even your spiritual body. Like when my near-death experience, me wanting to go back, but he knew that I had to come back. And so he let me go. The love he had for me to know that it was not my time yet and I had to come back. I didn't understand it at the moment, but I came back now where I'm at now. And, I do this body work. I'm a healer. I have a beautiful daughter. My health is better. So we can't hold on to certain things because then you never know where it's going to lead you tomorrow.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. That was very enlightening, especially how you're talking about the frequency and how you can get stuck, basically. And it's interesting because people don't associate hope with anything negative. But when you said you're holding on to it for so long that it can turn into resentment, and resentment obviously is very negative. So even something that starts out very bright and sunny and beautiful can turn into something so toxic, and then you get stuck in it. Of course, being stuck in a toxin, you're not going to be able to grow from that because it's toxic. So that was very well explained. And then, have you seen how it manifests in the body with heartache?
Yes.
Or is that something you haven't seen yet?
No, I have seen heartache when it comes to relationships, parents. A good story that I would like to share. I had this man come for a session, super healthy. Like he looked like the GQ magazine guy, like very fit, very handsome. I was just like, what is he doing here? And he was experiencing pain on his left thigh going up to his hip. And he had gone to doctors. He just couldn't understand why he had that pain still. So as I'm working on him, I've developed over the years what I call the body map. So depending where you're experiencing pain, there's a reason why it's there. So for me, the left thigh represents mother, right thigh represents father. So I asked him, how's your relationship with your mom? So he's like looking at me. We're like, why are you asking me?
What a wonderful, full circle moment, because, when you were 25, that was you. Like, how did you know that? So now you're on the other end of it. Sorry, go ahead. I had to point that out.
Perfectly said. So he's looking at me. We're like, I don't know where you're going with this, but okay, I'm going to entertain it. I told him the reason I'm asking because left thigh represents mother, and your pain, you said it goes to the hip. So the hip represents how you carry yourself with that relationship. So there's something that's in conflict right now. And he was just blown away, like, I can't believe you got that out of my leg. And I said, well, that's the data I've collected, and that's usually what it represents. He goes, I've never had a good relationship with my mother. And I've always been jealous that my sisters are able to have a good relationship with her. But with me, it's like, I don't know what is it, but when she comes over, she sits in a corner, she just pouts, she doesn't engage. And I feel so bad for my sons and for my wife that they have to deal with this. With my sisters, she behaves so differently and it just bothers me. And I said, okay, this sounds like generational trauma. So let's go back. How was her childhood? And he goes, it was fine. I can't think of anything. Okay, let's go a little further back. How was her mom's childhood? Your grandmother? Oh, wow. Yeah, she didn't have a good childhood. At age 17, her mom ended up dying. So she became instant mom to all her siblings. And then dad checked out. And I said, oh, there it is. Dad checked out. So the male figure was a negative. I could see your grandmother by the time she had your mom. She wasn't present because I could imagine her being tired. She raised her siblings, and now here she is raising a daughter, and probably not with a lot of support with dad, because back in the day, men just did one role and the woman had to figure everything out. So I could just see how tired and exhausted she was. That energy was passed on to your mom. So when she had you, you're that representation of that negative male energy. It was like an aha moment for him, like, wow, that makes total sense. Like, it was just this big aha moment from him. Then I said, okay, can we release that from your leg garden? Can we just let that go and come to an understanding and awareness that you're expecting her to be a certain way, but she will never be able to offer that to you because she never had that. So how can she offer something you want so badly that she's never had? So can we forgive her for that and just let that go? This way it doesn't get passed down to your sons and it doesn't affect your wife and your marriage and your relationship. Like, we don't want that to affect all, your beautiful family. And he was like, I can do that. And so then I finished working on him. And when he got up, he was like, I can't believe the pain is gone. Like, he was so blown
Wow.
away.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story. I mean, it makes sense to me, but even though it makes sense to me, it's still very mind blowing. Like,
It is.
your patient demeanor too, the way you go through it, you make it seem like it's so simple, which in a way it is, but it's
It
also
is.
very complex.
I always,
There's
yeah,
a
I always
duality there.
Yes, I always say that to clients because they say, how is it this simple? You make it so easy. And I'm like, it is. We're the ones that make it complicated. When you really
Yeah.
think about it, who makes it complicated?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you. That's so great. For the last question, if you were to write your own story, which crush in your life would you write about and why?
I know which one. It's so funny. I think about him once in a while. So, in my senior year of high school, I was in track season and I ended up getting really injured. And so I didn't get to run my last season before graduating. And I remember I was in crutches and there was this boy that I had not met. And his name was Jaime. He was so sweet and helpful. And I think it was the first time ever that I've ever experienced that I did not know how to behave or react to that. And I remember on the bus ride home back, because I had to go to the track meets even injured to be present. So I remember on our way back from a track meet, we were just talking and there was just this moment where we just looked into each other's eyes, and then he just gave me this kiss. And I just remember feeling such beautiful things, but I had never experienced that before. And so for me, not knowing, I kind of regret not pushing myself. But like I said, things are meant to be for a moment. So then after that, the season kept going and I would just kind of keep my distance because again I was very shy. And at that time there was this other boy hanging around playing the guitar, blonde hair. His name was Levi, and he all of a sudden he had all this attention to me, and that turned out to be not a good relationship. And I remember regretting that. And I've always had that regret, like, what if I explored Jaime instead of Levi? Where would my life have gone? So I've always had that question once in a while that come up, like, what would have happened with my life if I would have just tried to get out of my discomfort and to try something new and try to work through that instead of just going to this route where this other kid just gave me attention where I wasn't in discomfort. It felt easy, but it wasn't good for me.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great story. I've mentioned this before, but I call those like sliding doors moments because have you heard of the movie Sliding Doors or have you
Yeah.
seen it? Yeah.
Yes.
So that's your sliding doors moment. Like you went with Levi, but your sliding door moment is what if you had gone with Jaime? So yeah. Oh, that's such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. If you write it, I'm here to read it. Okay, so with that, we've reached the end of our time for the episode. But before we do our closing, I wanted to invite you to, if there's anything else that you would like to share or any questions that maybe you would even like to ask me.
So the Chronicles, that's something you've written?
Yes,
Okay. And is that based on somewhat of about your life too?
it is 100% about my life. It's my first
Okay.
memoir that I'm writing. Yeah.
Nice. I love that. I love that you're writing about that. It's interesting. How did you come up with that idea? Like, what inspired you to do that?
I got this idea. I was in my early 20s when I got the idea. I'm sure I was hardcore crushing on somebody at the time. I was very similar to you, very quiet. I would more observe. I wouldn't really go for it. I tell a lot of people, really, the only time I went for it was with my husband. The big thing that really, that I can say to it is I was an Air Force brat. My dad was in the Air Force. We were constantly moving. I averaged going to a different school every year. I was constantly meeting new people and I was a human girl, so I constantly had crushes. I learned that moving around so much as a child, it can be very traumatizing. And looking back, when I read that, I was like, oh, that makes sense, especially as I got older, because I really began to resent it. And you would make friends, settle down, try to establish a home, and then you'd just have to pick up and leave again after a year or two or three. And you would have to say goodbye to all these people that you'd grown to love. But at the same time, when I came out of it, when I went to college, that's when I moved out, and I've stayed put. I've been in Southern California ever since, because I did not want to do that anymore, and I didn't want to do that to my possible kids at the time.
Yes.
And I also, at the same time, I just wouldn't take it back. I wouldn't regret it, because I met so many wonderful people, and I saw so many places that if, my dad wasn't in the Air Force, that wouldn't have happened. So like most things, there's the contradiction and the duality there. But yeah, that's mostly where it came from, is just I met so many wonderful people, and I'm also very sensitive. I loved very hard, which I like also got hurt very hard too. In a way, it's a healing moment for me, like getting it out. But I just had the idea. So it's been maybe 15, 20 years since I had the idea, and I finally put it to paper a couple years ago.
I love that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it's never too late. I always tell that to people because people always talk about how they have these ideas and they just kind of simmer and simmer and simmer. And then when they finally are doing it, they're like, oh my God, I don't know why I wasted so much time. And I'm like, no, you didn't waste time. You had to collect more data of your life experiences to make this possible. When I say it that way to them, they're like, oh, I never thought about it that way. Everything happens with divine timing. I'm a true believer of that.
Yeah, that's one thing I've learned, because I've done a couple of classes and obviously done a lot of reading about memoir writing, because I've never written a memoir before, but a lot of what I've read about or watched videos about or what I've gone to classes about is a lot of times people will want to start their memoir in the middle of going through the thing, but it's really not the right time to. You can write it, maybe you can journal it, but really you're not really ready to write it until you're out of the thing, of whatever the sliver of your life that you're trying to write. So even though I had this idea 15, 20 years ago, I was still in the middle of the thing. I hadn't met my husband yet. I was still crushing on guys, getting my heart broken, whatever. So it's not that it's not possible to write the memoir while you're in the middle of the thing, but like you said, I was still collecting data. I had the beginning and the middle, but I didn't really know how it was going to complete, how it was going to end. So yeah, that's very parallel to memoir writing. Okay, so before we end it, please share where listeners can find you.
You could find me on the website. It's Dual Dragons, DUO, because a lot of people confuse DUAL, the dual, like fighting. I'm like, we're not fighting. Okay. It's two. It represents two. And so it's DUOdragons.com. And then there you could read all our information of what we do, what we're certified in. There's a lot to me. I'm certified in oncology, massage. We both are capable of helping clients post surgery, postnatal. That's my specialty. Oncology is also another specialty of mine, because going through that journey with my sister, and she has passed away, and it was quite an experience. She taught me a lot on how to just give a loving touch to those that are very much in need, and how to really work with pain management. Everything's been a blessing. And so also the grieving, I never knew what grieving was until she passed away. And now I'm able to relate better with other people that are going through the grieving process, that it's never ending. You will always grieve. They say it gets better. And in time, we're coming up to her 3rd year. I don't feel it gets better. It gets harder to live without that person. And there's just so many memories. When she passed, I was 48 at that time. And so it was like I spent half of what I considered close to my 50s, half of my life. And I remember telling my friend, what am I going to do for the other half of my life without her? And she kind of giggled, and I'm like, what's so funny? She goes, I didn't realize you were planning to live to 100 years old. I did say that, didn't I? This has been an experience. All the experiences that I've gone through is what helps me be able to relate to clients better, helps me give clients results, and helps me help you go through your healing journey to be more successful. So that's the goal.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much again for joining me today. All of Rebecca's links for Duo Dragons and where you can find her will be in the show notes of the episode. So please do go check her out. So do you only provide service in person? Are you based it just in like one city or all of Orange County?
All of Orange County, we're mobile. Since we deal with pain
Okay.
management, we understand that some of our clients just got us out of surgery. We come to the comfort of our clients' homes. We set up, we bring our equipment, and we work on you. It's a full 90 minutes because we do head to toe, not just on a specific region. We work on you head to toe, and it's a full 90-minute session with, like I said, both my husband and I. So my specialty is really my intuition, following where to release the blockages and the pain. And my husband's greatest gift is being able to just kind of channel and hold space. And then afterwards, when I do all the releasing for the client, he helps re-educate the client's muscles on how to move again, how to recognize that they have more range of motion. So everything as I'm releasing, my husband will start stretching you, moving you like, look, you can do this. You're capable. Your body is healing. It's responding. So it gives our clients that strength to be able to be like, I can do this. I can do this and get up. And like I said, that one client, he was able to walk without the walker last time, and we're actually going to see him again tomorrow. So I'm looking forward to see what more progress we do with him in his healing journey.
Oh, that's so great. So it's 100% you're mobile. You don't have like a brick and mortar where people can come in office.
We go mainly to our clients, but once in a while we do have that one client that says, I have no space in my house. I live in like a little studio. Or they'll tell us like, I need to get out of my house. Like it's not an environment for them that they would want to get worked on. So this room that I'm in right now is my healing room. It used to be my sister's bedroom. And when she passed away, I actually had a friend that's a fellow healer. And I remember her telling me, your sister really wants you to make this the healing room. That's the energy she wants in this space. And so it's the healing room now. And so we have
Wonderful.
a table here. So yes, we do. This is in my home. So if a client does not have space, we do have this room. If a client doesn't want to come to it, I do have another fellow friend that I do a lot of work with. She has a healing wellness center. It's called the Healing Health and Wellness Center in Laguna Woods. And she offers me a room whenever I need a room for a client too.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. I love when things like that can work out and collaborate. So great. If you're listening and anything has resonated with you, which I'm sure it has, yes, please do check out all of her links in the description. But yes, once again, thank you so much for joining me. It's been a very wonderful conversation with you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the Chronicles, now learning more about it. And I was like, oh, that's so cool how you integrate it all and how all of that was also connected to what we were talking about.
Yeah, I know. Okay, well, thanks so much.
Okay, thank you.
So, what do you think? How do you feel? If you like this episode and would like to hear another, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you have some extra time, check out my Substack at jitsi.substack.com. The link will be in the show notes. There, you can check out my memoir series that inspired the podcast and can peek inside the real-life stories and experiences that inspire the topics in each episode. The Crush Chronicles podcast is 100% produced by me, Rachel Jitsawat. The music is by Music Town, and the sound effects are by Pixabay. Thank you for listening, and until next time, remember, love yourself first. The rest will follow.